Hello, welcome to Pebble Ripple, the show where we dive deep into the ideas, emotions, and experiences that shape how we connect with others, and most importantly, how we connect with ourselves. I'm your host, Dr. Suzie Dukic, and on this special episode, especially timely around the holidays, we're exploring one of the most powerful forces in human existence, hope. What is hope, really? Is it just wishful thinking? Or is it something deeper? In a world that can feel overwhelming at times, especially this time of year, hope is that quiet voice in your head saying, things will get better. I'm going to be okay. Hope is the thread that pulls us through our struggles. Today, we'll look at hope from a psychological perspective, philosophical, real-life stories, and even some inspiring recent events. We'll unpack why hope matters scientifically, share some timeless quotes and examples, and we'll end with practical ways to cultivate more hope into your life. If you're feeling a bit low or just need a boost to start the new year, stick around. This one's for you. Welcome back. First things first, hope is not blind optimism or naive wishing. Let's look at how hope has been defined in the field of psychology. Psychologist Charles Snyder, he is known for his research in exploring the whole concept of hope. And in his research, he described it as a mindset with three parts. First part, goals. Having something meaningful you want to achieve. This can also be your purpose in life. What is it? Number two, pathways. Brainstorming multiple ways to get there, even if obstacles pop up. And then lastly, agency. This is that inner belief of, I can do this. I've got the motivation to start and keep going. Snyder's research showed that people with high hope, they're not just happier people, they're more resilient in tough times. They're physically and mentally healthier, and they're more successful in their life. They bounce back faster from setbacks because they see problems as challenges, not dead ends. I would also add, based on what I've observed professionally and personally, that an individual's perception of themselves and their perception of the world around them has a huge influence on their level of hope. Another researcher in the field of psychology, Barbara Fredrickson, she looks at positive psychology. She says that hope shines brightest in crisis, opening us to creative possibilities. I know that's happened with me more than once. When you think you're stuck or there's no way, no right turn, left turn, forward, you're just stuck. You how do you say it? You just become more creative. Okay, I've got to figure this out. I've got to get out of this, or I have to address this, or whatever the case is. We count on ourselves. We trust ourselves to be created during this time of crisis or a time of high stress. Hope is not passively waiting for action to happen. I hope this is going to happen. I hope tomorrow's a good day. No. Hope is about action. Hope is about action. Think about it. Without hope, we would stop trying. But with hope, we persist. Recently, I've been contemplating some big life decisions that will have a huge impact on my lifestyle. Huge. I've been finding myself trying to predict and control potential outcome of these decisions. That's a no-no, folks. Now, I'm not saying that we should not plan for outcome or the future based on a decision we're making today. No, we should plan, but not control. We cannot predict and control the future. We can make some plans, but then we kind of have to trust ourselves and see how it turns out. We plan and control some things, but when we're stepping into the unknown, meaning, in my particular case, I'm not quite sure how this is going to turn out, but I have hope that it's going to be okay. And let me tell you, it's scary. It's like opening a door into a room or into a world, if you will, that we're unfamiliar with. Our brain likes to know what's coming. Oh, this is a survival instinct. The brain loves to control and predict, or predict and control. And so it's hard fighting against that, but hope is a little bit different. We can hope for something, and there's no guarantees it's going to happen. And that reminds me of a quote I read recently. And when I first read it, I thought, ugh, that's not so positive. But then the more I thought about it, it really resonated with me. So here's what it is. Hope without guarantees. Like I said, this resonated with me. But at first I was, I don't know about this. But then I think it gave me the courage to move forward and trust that I will be okay. That's hope. Hope isn't a fluffy concept. It's measurable and it's impactful. A little bit of research here. Viktor Frankl was a Holocaust survivor and a psychiatrist, and he wrote a book on man's search for meaning. And in that book, he was in these concentration camps and was observing people. And it's a great book if you haven't read it. It's really good about purpose in life. It's existential philosophy. So it's very interesting. Plus, it's just so inspiring how Viktor Frankl and people around him survived. And unfortunately, there was a lot that did not. But what he said in his book was those people in the concentration camps that held on to hope, a reason to live, were more likely to survive than those that did not. Hope gave them purpose. Research on survivors of trauma, severe illnesses or other kinds of really deep losses, research found that people that experienced this, if they had hope, they were more apt to recover faster than those that had no hope. Sort of like those looking at the cup half empty versus those looking at the cup half full. So another interesting quote is Desmond Tutu. He said, hope is being able to see that there is light despite all of the darkness. Then Martin Luther King Jr. said, we must accept finite disappointment, but never lose infinite hope. These words are backed by these two gentlemen and Viktor Frankl, these three gentlemen that lived through unimaginable hardship that most of us couldn't come close to imagining. And these words are based on what they endured, what they observed. Many of us have struggled with losing a job, facing an illness, or getting our heart broken. However, a glimmer of hope may have pushed us forward. Maybe it was a supportive friend, a small win, or just the refusal to give up. A couple other quotes to ponder for the new year are, the first one is by Alfred Lloyd Tennyson. And this one is, hope smiles from the threshold of the year to come, whispering, it will be happier. I like that one. The other one's by Amanda Gorman, and I really like this one too. This is hers. There is always light, if only we're brave enough to see it. If only we're brave enough to be it. Hope isn't just personal, folks. It's collective. Remember how you feel when you're in the company of a hopeful person versus someone that's, yeah, but. If you said, oh, what a beautiful day, yeah, but it's supposed to rain later, So you might be thinking, how do we build hope? How do we do this? And I think it's a skill. I think part of it, we could really dive deep here, but I'm not going to. A lot of it is what we were exposed to as children. But we're going to kind of stay in the present here, but it's what we've learned from people that were our primary caregivers coming up, but it's also after we've lived life for a while and life experiences. So I think hope is a skill that we develop, and I don't think it's just luck. So some suggestions to increase our hope or create our hope are some of these. So first, you might want to surround yourself with hopeful people. Hope is contagious. Have you ever been surrounded by a bunch of negative people? I think I asked that a little earlier. These are the glass half empty folks. Also, a client taught me this phrase. I love it. Yeah, but. So I won't go into the whole thing, but the client told me his grandmother called him Yebbit. And I said, well, where'd she get that from? He said, well, as a kid, I'd always make up excuses why I couldn't do chores or homework or what have you. And he said, she labeled him. He'd always say, yeah, but grandma. Yeah, but grandma. So she nicknamed him Yebbit. So I think Yebbit could be positive also. Someone maybe say, oh, it's cold outside. It's a dreary day. Another person can say, yeah, but we're cozy and warm inside. Yeah, but we have plenty of food to eat, and so on. So the Yebbit could be used either way. When I hear it in some instances, I think of Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh. It's just, oh, here we go. So here's a couple of examples of how a Yebbit person from the negative perspective, or let's say little hope, might address something. So a friend might look at Johnny and say, hey, Johnny, I heard you started a new job last week. Congratulations, man. And Johnny replies, yeah, but I'm not sure I'm going to like it. People aren't very friendly, and I'm not sure I'll be there long. Or, Cindy Lou, you did a great job on that presentation at the office. Cindy Lou responds, yeah, but it was too short and I missed a couple things. I know they think I don't know what I'm doing. And so on. I know you folks know what I'm talking about. So you can't make people like this happy. So you might just shift direction, be polite, and move on. Don't sit and let Cindy Lou or Johnny tell you how negative their day is or how bad things are. So, secondly, another thing you can do is reflect on your past triumphs. Triumphs are things that we're proud of, that we did, and we were successful at it. I really try to emphasize this with clients. Even though most people show up in my office, they're there because they've got a negative perception of themselves. They focus on all their mistakes that they've made all their life. So I try to encourage them to focus on their strengths, what they did that they're proud of, what their accomplishments, their triumphs, if you will. So that if you tend to be a yeah but person, then you might shift and think about, if you have that negative thought, maybe you shift that yeah but to yeah but I have really kicked butt over the years. I've done it. I did this well, or I did that well. and so on. So it's trying to develop a more positive perception of yourself. Okay, moving on. So next, know that hope grows through action. Take action. Even small steps help hope grow. For example, practicing gratitude. Before you get out of bed, you might think or say to yourself, I'm grateful for. Name one thing or many. Sometimes I say, I'm grateful that I woke up this morning. It's simple, but I mean it. I'm truly grateful that I get another day. So you can name one thing or many, whatever you choose. Years ago, when I learned of the concept of gratitude, practicing gratitude, I would try this in the morning. I would say something, and I believe my therapist or wherever I read it, I don't remember right now, said, think of one thing you're grateful for. So I would think of one thing, and then I felt guilty because I didn't list everything I was grateful for. So you don't have to. You can pick one and go from there. If you want to be grateful for everything, you could just say, I'm grateful for everything in my life right now. I think it'd be better if you fine-tuned it to one or two things, so you can really focus on that person or your health or whatever it is you're grateful for that day. Another thing you might consider stating before you get out of bed, or maybe while you're having your morning coffee. This is before your feet hit the floor and you're flying. And I know a lot of people get up like that in the morning. That's not me. I like to bring my brain around slowly. But this is something you could do laying in your bed before you hit the ground running, so to speak. So this is a phrase or a question you could ask. What is it that I can control today? I could do a whole episode on the human illusion of control, but we're going to keep it brief here. Know that we're only responsible for our own thoughts, feelings, and actions, and how we react to what the world may throw at us at any given time. We cannot control how someone responds to what we say. Of course, we can be intentional and be respectful with our words, but we cannot control someone's interpretation of our words. When I work with couples, I hear these phrases a lot. He makes me so angry. You've really upset me, and so on. In these examples, the person that's speaking is blaming someone else for their feelings. They have no control over our feelings. Only we do. We choose how we emotionally react. Again, we can only control our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. This is a tough one in intimate relationships because you can be upset at a partner, but a more healthier phrase would be, I'm really angry right now because you told me you were going to empty the dishwasher and you didn't. Instead of, you make me so angry. Two totally different sentences. So that's just a little insight there on language. Language can be such a powerful tool. Okay, let me see. I think that's it on that. And as we wrap up, I just want you to remember that hope is not denying reality. It is choosing to believe in possibility, even if we're in a dark place or we're in darkness. It feels like the world's just on top of us. To me, I have a metaphor in my brain when I feel this way, when I feel really overwhelmed. And it's kind of like you're in deep water treading, and there's big waves that keep slapping you upside the head or dunking you under the water. That is struggle. It really feels like you're drowning. And that's how it feels to me sometimes when you're just overwhelmed with life in general. Paying bills, work, and so on. So hope is the fuel for change, folks. It's the fuel for healing, and it's the fuel for joy. One step forward reignites that spark that we have. One more quote before we wrap it up. Roy T. Bennett said, "Never lose hope. Storms make people stronger and never last forever." So during this holiday season, whatever your beliefs, may hope light your path ahead. Thank you for joining me on Pebble Ripple. I wish you peace and good mental health.